As you know, this session was very unique, especially in the House side, because we were split between Republicans and Democrats. It was 30 of each. And I think some good things actually happened. I had quite a few things pass that I did in conjunction with some Democrats. You know, things like the transparency website, kind of getting that more transparent for people, including adding the economic development tax breaks. Yeah, the Department of Administrative Services oversees and pretty much administers that particular website for the state. And they've done quite a bit of improving since we first started, and as far as functionality is concerned. But we did add a couple of components, such as public meeting notices. So you should be able to get on there and find out what public meetings are happening for any state offices, because there are so many meetings that happen and so much policy that really gets discussed at those particular meetings to be brought to the legislature. It's very important that people keep an eye on those and participate and be active, not only at the legislature, but all the stuff that happens before we meet at the legislature. And some of those meetings are listed, and you can get them on Oregon.gov. Just Google Oregon Transparency. It'll show up. I don't remember the exact site, but just Oregon Transparency.
Yeah, Google is always easy.
Yeah.
So we know where all our tax dollars are going then?
Almost. Theoretically, that was the goal. The thing is, because we couldn't spend any money on it, we had to use what information we could. So people, all the different agencies download their information, DAS handles it, but then there's some agencies, some computer platforms, there's some computer geek stuff going on here, but that doesn't quite communicate, and so it would cost a lot more to translate it over. And I'm out of my realm here, but anyway, so not everything is there, but we're trying to.
There's probably a few watching.
I used to be. My goodness, right? I tell you, the world has passed me by. I know. I used to be very confused.
If you were illiterate last year, that doesn't necessarily mean
exactly,
this year,
and it was 10 years ago, so really left in the dust. But
ever since you've been in office.
But that is the goal, to get all that information online so that people know where their money's going.
Yeah. So is there any way to link where our money is going and who is gets money donated to their campaign?
Oh, that's already online. That is another issue. That is online. Look up Orestar, Orestar, and there are a lot of third-party people that have sites that I think are a little more useful. I don't remember all their sites. You could look up Oregon campaign donations. I think there's places like Follow the Money, things like that. But same things happening with this transparency website. These third-party people, I know the Oregon Taxpayer Association is pulling information off of there and making reports on specific things that's easy for people to look at. And that was the goal, to make it, put the data up there to do mashups with other programs and make it really useful for people.
Have you heard if that is helping, if people are getting upset that they actually elected somebody and they're getting financial favors, for instance? Is that making a difference in elections?
Oh, you're talking about campaign stuff. Okay, the transparency website, that's what agency spending is. That's public money, taxpayer dollars. Campaigns are not taxpayer dollars yet. Let's hope it. I'm not a big fan of publicly funded campaigns. I don't think that's a good use of funds. But
I'm still wondering why Ron Wyden gave the stimulus taxes. I know we're way back, several years back. I guess a couple years back, since the presidential election. But the stimulus dollars went to a bow and arrow company, and I'm thinking, what does that have to do with stimulus? and there's some favor, and nobody ever investigated it. I'm the only one that has ever talked about it since it happened the first time.
Well, you hear so much about that. And that's federal stuff.
Yeah, federal stuff,
and
then
we're trying to do
stuff
with Oregon, because we have the same kind of deal with some of the economic tax breaks that are out there, and some of them are mirror federal programs. And so that is now in the process of getting online, so that we can see where some of these tax breaks go into who, and
some of them are mirror federal programs.
They mirror.
They mirror
federal programs.
Can you expound on that? Or is that's a hard question?
Gosh, yeah, there was one that we just started, and unfortunately, I don't even think that one's listed specifically because it was started after my bill passed, and it named specific programs. But it mirrors something along the lines of giving it's a convoluted mess. I used to have a big handle. It's pretty complicated, but it's like community investment, nonprofit places, and banks, and something about loaning money to
some of the
certain businesses, and then the banks who loan the money will get some sort of tax break. I can't remember the percentage, but it's a federal program, but we decided we really need to do this in Oregon too.
And what do you think of that?
I wasn't a fan. I was the only person on the Republican side to vote against it in this case, but I see it as a mirror of some of the programs that set up people to fail. In other words, some of the Community Reinvestment Act that was signed in, I think it was under Carter, that said everybody needs to own a house, and long story short, here we are today.
Yeah, thanks to Carter, and they want to blame it on Bush. And,
people that really couldn't afford loans were incentivized to get loans, and this kind of was like that, only for businesses. And I thought, we shouldn't be going down that path. So,
speaking of federal things that as the state are starting to mirror, here is one, and I don't know what it's called either, but I don't like it, and I'm wondering what your feelings are on this. Apparently, there's some people from Hollywood or in the media that came up to Portland. Okay, you know what I'm talking about?
The film and tax.
Oh, yeah, okay, so the
credits.
richest, most liberal people in the world that are totally immoral, and I'm not saying they all are, but I'm saying, come on up to Oregon, make our state more immoral, and shoot your films, and we'll give you a tax break, even though you're rich.
There's lots of different levels of that. There's for having people hired and working here. And
and I guess that was some of the things that was positive. But I don't care as a taxpayer and as a person who likes freedom. That really offends me.
Here's what happens. A lot of this, for instance, you're doing your taxes and you want to get some more money off on, not have to pay as much. So Oregon has this little thing that says 95, or you can donate $950 and we'll give you $50 additional off, as a tax credit, that type of thing. So it's like a 95% match to go into this film fund, so that they get that. That's where that money comes from. So it comes from people wanting to reduce the amount of their taxes, which I'm usually for. I mean, to people, but what they do is they say, okay, well, I'll contribute whatever percentage, but I'll get to deduct another additional amount.
Wow.
And that's how it works.
Is there a union that is associated with all these that you're aware of?
I
Because
don't know.
in Hollywood,
Probably.
apparently, it makes you understand why they go after and support the Democrats who are okay with this and that support their unions. And it's my understanding too that they don't have to do the health care plan as well as that.
Could be. I don't know.
They're better than we are, so why don't they get all these
I just feel
special
like
privileges?
It shouldn't be just. Continue. It should be for any business. It should be wide open, not specifically for. Okay, well, we approve of you, therefore we're going to help you.
Yeah. That's called bribing, and that's called a special
crony
interest.
Capitalism.
Crony capitalism that we're against.
I am definitely not for that. So.
Hallelujah. Yeah. That's why I appreciate you being here so much. Okay, well let's go on to some of the good stuff that you can think.
Well, this next session, unfortunately, isn't all gonna be good because the budget was built on a lot of assumptions. And will those assumptions come true is another story. For instance, we have, $200 million shortfall based on the last revenue forecast, which happened after we were out of session. So there's $200 million right there. Plus we have $30 million in savings expected from the, assumed from the corrections department. We don't know where that's going to come from. And then there's $250 million supposed to be saved by moving our healthcare system to a healthcare transformation. New way of administering the healthcare plan, and that's supposed to save $250 million.
The healthcare plan?
Saving it to, doing the healthcare transformation, new ways to
Oh.
care for organ health plan patients.
Uh-huh.
So there's supposedly there's going to be $250 million in savings coming from that. So that's a lot of
Yeah.
assumption.
Yeah.
I don't picture it happening. I hope it does, but.
And another